I know the high school gals. I was connected with an AAU club in Austin where I trained a lot of their middle school and high school athletes. And gosh, some of those girls would only eat 20 or 30 grams in an entire day. So
This is
it's
a
like,
big issue for me. Like, I think as female athletes and as women, and I mean, I don't want to go too far aside here, but there's also like the social aspect of eating protein. And like, I'd be out with friends, let's say, co-ed male and female friends. And when I'm ordering the steak, the server is bringing the steak to my male counterpart. And I'm like, no, 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 it's
yeah,
over here. So, as female athletes, we need to understand that we need protein too, and to not be afraid. It is not going to make you big and bulky, and
no,
for the most part, female athletes are under eating protein severely.
severely. Even the again, I'm thinking of one athlete I trained. She was probably 5'4", 115 pounds. But when you look at her, an hour an hour's with skills, an hour and a half on basketball practice, and then she trains with me for an hour. Like she
Mm-hmm.
needs upwards of 3,000 calories, maybe more in a day, and
Mm-hmm.
she's eating 800, 900. And the number one response whenever these kids come in to train with me, hey, how do you feel today? The number one response is tired. They
Sorry.
always say tired, 9 out of 10 times. It's like, gosh, parents, feed your kids, especially those girls who are, like you said, there's such a, I hate to say it, there's this social thing. We can't eat a lot. Like, no, you got to fuel up. You got to have energy. Okay. And I know this is a generalized statement, but maybe you can talk about what is a good energy packed, food day look like for the average person and then for the athlete.
For sure. I mean, I think that's a great place to start. And I love, again, just kind of going back to some of your nutrition talks with Coach Sean. I love that you said, building on breakfast. One of the first action items I start on with, whether it's a client or an athlete who's working with me, is what we call, building a better breakfast.
Cool.
So I do love the meat and nut breakfast, but I know that for some people, having a big ribeye in the morning, especially if your appetite is low, is less than desirable. So, we can work on kind of where you're at and go from there. I think the most important thing to remember is within waking, it doesn't have to be a ribeye, but let's get at least 30 grams of protein in with that meal. Now, I'm a big fan, similar to you. I usually try to get protein intake based on body size. So, for someone like myself, I'm at least doing 1.5 grams of protein per pound of my body weight per pound. And that might sound like a lot to you, but believe it or not, it's the best thing that I could have done for my energy levels and my body composition.
Yeah.
So, and this is a big thing, especially for female athletes, but male athletes are not immune to this. Reds and undernourishing and under eating and therefore underperforming. Athletes require so much more energy, calorie, right? And they're not getting it. And I get it. There's so many other things as an athlete that's on your mind, or even if you're not an athlete, you're a busy, I like to call them my corporate athletes, my full-time parents and business owners. The morning might not be a time where you're hungry per se,
Right.
but let's look at why that's the case. Are you starting your day with a cup of coffee, which is an appetite suppressant? Well, maybe starting with water first and getting something in food wise could be important. But if the meat and nut breakfast is like over here and you're like, okay, give me something that's like over here, I'm not there yet. I usually, like to use a good quality grass-fed beef protein, get in some good quality fats in there. So maybe
Yeah.
you're blending it up with some almond butter, some macadamia nut butter, or better yet, you're actually having those raw nuts on the side, and you're actually chewing, masticating. When you're downing a shake, you don't have the salivary amylase and those enzymes in your mouth when you start to chew happen. So you're kind of like downing, 3,000-4,000 calories depending on your shake in 5 minutes.
Right.
You can't eat a steak that quickly. So in school, we sort of taught, you should be chewing your liquids and drinking your foods. Digestion really starts with how well you're chewing.
That's cool. I forgot about that. I've heard that years ago, and it's one of
Yeah.
those things that I'm glad you said that. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. That's cool. You mentioned a gram. You say 1 gram to 1.5 grams, right, per pound of body weight.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I start with 1 gram. I know that increasing protein is difficult.
Yeah.
Protein requires a lot of digestive juices, but if you're an athlete or someone who's looking to put muscle mass on, or you're in sort of, I'm right now in a hypertrophy stage of my training, Protein is that building block, but I
Yeah.
think we need to look beyond protein as just being that building block of muscle. We sort of know that protein is necessary for detoxification, proper detoxification. We all drink our green juices and we think we're doing good for our liver, but without sufficient amino acid intake, your liver is going to shut down in 48 hours. So
Yeah.
it's actually good quality proteins that's going to help you detox, not your green drink. So don't be miserable. You can eat protein. And of course, neurotransmitter production. So
Yeah.
Charles was a fan of the meat and nut breakfast because it increased your dopamine. And I don't care who you are, you want more dopamine. You
Right.
want motivation and you want drive. A lot of the social media and constantly checking our email and our phone, that depletes our dopamine and it leaves us demotivated, not having the energy or the drive to do much of anything. So
Right.
meat and nuts can do that, but I mean, again, it could also come from like a good quality beef protein shake, or something that is palatable to you in the morning that contains sufficient amino acids, good quality fats.